David, always an honor to be in your presence, and thank you for
Thank you.
sharing today. I,
Sure.
I know you made a left turn from being an attorney to going into the Salesforce world and becoming this awesome resource, MVP, and what have you. And I see your marketing is everywhere. Can you talk a little bit about that? I always talk with veterans about making sure you understand how to market your brand and what you're trying to get to. Like, what's the point first? And then also, if you can share some of those marketing tips. I always get a kick out of a lot of your posts because they're very personal, even though
Right.
we haven't talked in like 6 years,
Yep.
right? I always feel like your message is resonating. So I just wanted to ask you that.
Yep. Thank you. It's a great question. It's something that most people don't think about as it relates to managing their own career. So everything I'm about to say holds true whether you are running a business like I am, or if it's just being a full-time employee. Your goal is to always be a full-time employee until it comes time for retirement, which is personal branding. And what is personal branding? Why is it important, and how to go about building and executing on your personal brand. So at the time when I first started immersing myself in everything associated with personal brand, the term personal brand meant nothing to me. I had no idea what that meant. I was simply looking for a job. I was looking for a better job. I was at GE for a total of over 16 years. I was at GE Capital for about 8 of those 16 years. I was at NBC, which later became NBC Universal beforehand. And while I was at GE, and on the one hand, it was a phenomenal experience for me. I learned a ton. Many of my former colleagues have become either clients or referral sources for me. But while I was there, while I was at both NBC and GE Capital, I was working hard. I was responsible for very, very large projects, very visible projects. And I kept watching other people getting promoted all around me. I felt like I was being left in the dust. I felt like I was stuck in whatever job my manager needed me to be in, because my manager did not have someone else who was going to take on all of that work. And I felt that I was sort of like in a prison of some kind, where like I couldn't move. The only way to move was to totally leave GE entirely. Yet my network and my expertise, let alone the terminology and culture of GE, I was already embraced in all of it. So my interest in personal branding really came from an interest in trying to find a job, because I was so insanely frustrated with my experience as an employee at GE for so many years. And as I was exploring best practices on job hunting, that's where I completely stumbled on the concept of personal branding. And for those of you who know who Lewis Howes is, he's the one who taught me pretty much everything that I know about personal branding. He's like a social media like influencer type with a podcast and YouTube channel and huge following. At the time, this is like 2008, he was pretty much a nobody, but he happened to have a whole bunch of videos on LinkedIn basically teaching how to build your personal brand specifically on LinkedIn. And I learned so much from him when he was like a nobody. It was like a freaking raw camcorder or webcam just on his face, so terrible lighting and everything. And basically what I learned is that whether you're looking for a job or you're starting a business, you could be the one who's running after the people you are trying to impress and trying to convince them to think like you, to consider, here's my resume, take a look at my resume, here's my job application where I want to pursue that open job that you have. Here's the product or service that I'm offering. Here, buy from me. So you could either take that approach. We all know as consumers how painful it is when people that we don't know and we don't care about are approaching us about things that we just don't care, we're not interested in, we know how, we perceive it as spam, whether it comes in the form of a phone call, an email, an in-person, you know, the stereotypical, you walk into a mall and you happen to walk near the cosmetic stuff and they're spraying you with everything, like, get the hell away from me. Like, I'm just trying to go from point A to point B. So that's one way to do it. And it could be super frustrating. And that's how most people pursue their career or building a business. Or you could take an entirely different approach, which is demonstrate to the world. Well, first you need to define who is your target audience. It's really not the world. Identify who is your target audience. What is it that you want to be known for? What area of expertise do you want to put out there? What are your passions and interests? What sets you apart from everybody else? And essentially wear that on your sleeve. And do it in a way where you are out there not saying, hey, hire me. Hey, look at my resume. You're basically putting yourself out there. And with social media, it becomes so freaking easy to do it on any social media platform, let alone in Salesforce, putting it within the Salesforce context, any Salesforce user group meetup or Zoom meeting like this one, or even at a Dreamforce, by simply sharing the knowledge and expertise and passion that you happen to have, demonstrating how you could be of value to other people based on the knowledge and information that you have. So instead of being the one who's, you know, like I gave you the description before, watching, you're the employee at the cosmetics counter in the mall and watching for the next body to come by so you can spray them with perfume. Instead, you're like the person standing, that old person who's standing in Costco at the beginning of the aisle with a bunch of awesome smelling samples, and people are lining up because they want that sample. You're not running after them. They're coming to you, and they're coming back for seconds. And they're like, wow, this was really good. And if I got this for free and it was so impressive, I can't imagine what I would get if I actually reached into my pocket and swiped my credit card to get the full product. So you're basically giving the equivalent of samples, but really good samples of what's the value that you bring to the table in order to get people to come to you. So I've immersed myself in everything around personal branding, and it's a long game. It's not the equivalent of sending out job applications or talking to a recruiter and waiting a couple of days to get a response. This is the equivalent of planting seeds and putting down the soil and watering it once a day and waiting for the sun to shine on it. And hopefully after a couple of weeks or a couple of months, things are going to sprout. And then hopefully you're going to reap the rewards of having the fruit come, and it's all yours. You're no longer running to the supermarket to go buy stuff. It's right there. So it's a long haul game, and you need to be consistent about it. And most people think that personal branding is all about calling attention to yourself, as in, oh, look at me, look at how awesome I am, look at how brilliant I am. It's not about that at all. It's all about showing how you demonstrate value to your audience. So I try with all of my online communications, email communications, in-person communications, to frame it not as, oh, here's the expertise that I have. Big freaking deal. Anyone can overshadow me with the number of certifications, the number of years of experience that they have, the size of the projects that they've worked on. But what I am calling out is, here's this piece of information, even like, here's an article that was written by someone else. It's not even my article. I might not know anything on this topic, but here is this awesome article that someone else wrote. And here, let me share it with you because you might find this valuable. So it's doing that consistently along with your own knowledge and expertise that you bring to the table, and being authentic about it. Like, not candy coat, because people can see through that. If you're trying to candy coat things, if like you're reading from a script, people can tell. They can tell. But if you're just being yourself, and when you don't know, say you don't know, be honest about it, it shines through and it totally stands out from everyone else that you're competing against, which includes other job applicants that you're competing against.
I love that analogy between the perfume sprayer at the mall and the person with the delicious samples at Costco, because that perfectly illustrates, exactly the difference between folks that have content that no one wants, and therefore their brand is weak, and folks that have content that's valuable, and therefore their brand is strong. Awesome.